What's happening in there?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Kernel of Wisdom's Mindful Moments. I'm Joelle, and today we're going to talk about forgiveness. So you may have noticed that the title of this video is actually Learn to Trust Yourself, How to Forgive. And some of you might be thinking, what the heck does forgiveness have to do with trusting myself? They're the ones who did something wrong. They're the ones who should be apologizing. I'm being the bigger person by forgiving. How on earth can forgiveness have anything to do with how I feel about me? Well, let's think about that a little bit more deeply. So think back to a situation that you have some trouble forgiving. Really think about it. Think about it in as much detail as you can remember. Think about what you were wearing, what the other person or people might have been wearing. Think about where you were, what you remember about the room and the environment. Think about any conversations that you had. Literally play back as much as you can about that moment as possible. What you're trying to do is trying to conjure up how that moment actually felt to you. You're trying to bring back those feelings. By now, you should be feeling at least some of the sensation that you were probably experiencing at the time. I'd like you to actually go into your body and start to notice anything that you can about those feelings. Notice where you have the strongest feelings and focus on those areas. And then see if you can give labels to them. Is it hurt, frustration, anger? Just notice and label anything you can about the feelings from that moment. Now you should be pretty familiar with some of the feelings that you're feeling, and that in itself might be a new experience for you. A lot of us tend to resist how we feel in those hurtful situations. What trips us up when we're trying to forgive something is the fact that we haven't dealt with our own feelings and emotions around that situation yet. Never mind what actually happened. We deny ourselves those feelings and we start to just turn on and blame the other person. All of our focus goes outward instead of coming inward to deal with ourselves and healing some of the things that we feel. We are turning on ourselves. We aren't helping ourselves in that situation. In fact, we're making ourselves feel worse most of the time. And so that doesn't build a lot of trust in our own ability to help comfort and soothe ourselves. The thing that happens is we often get quite frustrated and mad at ourselves for opening ourselves up to that hurtful situation. So we're not only turning on ourselves because we're denying ourselves our feelings, we are also turning on ourselves because we get mad at ourselves for the situation happening in the first place. And that's why forgiveness is so important for trusting yourself. I think it's important to ask yourself the question, who do you really need to forgive? Is it that other person? Or is it yourself? All right, with that out of the way, in terms of how to forgive, I do have a few steps. First is to do the exact same exercise that we did at the beginning of this video. Just think of a moment that you'd like to forgive and think of it in as much detail as possible. I'd really like you to try and bring back those feelings. Allow yourself to feel them again. I know that's difficult sometimes, but do your best to feel them as much as you feel comfortable. Next, start to actually change your relationship with your feelings about the situation. Instead of suppressing them and denying them and pushing them away, you're going to allow yourselves to actually feel them. I want you to try and notice the sensations that are going on in your body as much as possible. When you feel the strongest sensation, actually focus your attention there. You can put a hand there if it helps you stay focused on it. Try to just notice how it feels, literally noticing the sensation of it. You can describe it the way a poet might, whether it's fat or thin, or what color it might be, or is it sharp or blunt or prickly, or whatever other imagery comes up that helps you describe the sensation of that feeling rather than get involved in your feelings about that feeling. I do have a meditation on how to be with your feelings right here, so you can use that one to help if you need it. Now that you're feeling more familiar with those feelings, what I'd like you to do is start to learn from those feelings. And for this, I'm going to recommend a process called self-compassionate problem solving. I do have a meditation to help with that if you need it as well. I will post a link to it right here. What you're doing for that one is once you're familiar with those big feelings, you feel them in your body and you're really paying attention to them. Put a hand wherever you feel that feeling, and you ask it to tell you a little bit about the problem. And you ask it to tell you what's bothering you about the problem. Then you ask it to tell you what's really bothering you about the problem. And finally, you finish by asking it to tell you something different about the problem, something you hadn't thought of before. Usually by the end, you've had a couple new thoughts and a couple new insights that help you wrap your mind around the situation in a way that you haven't thought about before. Next is doing a bit of a forgiveness meditation. This I'm going to post a link to right here as well. Now, if you don't have time for all these different steps and different meditations, even just doing this forgiveness meditation is really going to help. In the context of how to trust yourself, now is the point when you're starting to actually heal how you're feeling. You're starting to really deeply soothe yourself, and this is where a lot of the trust comes through. What I'd like you to do is write out all the reasons that you decided to trust that person or situation in the first place. And what I'd like you to focus on is what was good about those decisions. What did it teach you? Why did you think it was a good idea at the time? What was good about trusting that person or that situation? What positive qualities does it highlight in yourself and about who you are? It may take a little bit at first, but it's totally worth the exercise because there are always good reasons to trust other people, even if it doesn't work out well. I'd like you to journal about all the reasons that it's good that that situation happened. I know that it was hurtful and tricky, and there's probably a lot of reasons it shouldn't have happened, but I'd like you to focus on what was good about it. What did you learn out of that situation? What did you learn about yourself out of that situation? What is part of your life now that may not have been if things had gone another way? And what are you grateful for out of that situation? All right, well, that's all the different steps I have to help with forgiveness. Again, if you only have a little bit of time, the number one thing I would do is this forgiveness meditation right here that I will post again for you. Otherwise, doing all these steps in combination really will help you deeply forgive not only the other person, but also all the hurts and things we did to ourselves in that circumstance, and that we said to ourselves in that circumstance as well. Feel free to post any questions you might have in the comment box below or send me a message. I am more than happy to help. Otherwise, I hope you have a really great day and happy meditating.